Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Chocolate Bros Review Show. You're here with Brian and Adam.
I'm Brian. He's Adam.
Adam.
So we're
Brian.
clear.
Brian. Adam. Brian Adams.
Yeah.
Remember that guy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It cuts like a knife.
Is that a Brian Adams song?
Pretty sure that was a Brian
all
Adams
right.
song. Yeah.
If you ever really loved a woman, you know what I'm talking about. We're the owners of www.fortunatochocolate.com.
Not
Wait a second.
singers. Not
We're the owners
professional
of
singers.
Fortunato Chocolate. The website is www.fortunatochocolate.com.
Well, we own that domain.
We own the domain. Yeah, that's right. I guess we do own the website.
Yes.
We are not professional singers. We are connoisseurs and purveyors of fine and delicious chocolate. That's what we know about. Thank you, my friend. Now, the purpose of this show, it's twofold.
Mm-hmm.
First, it's summer. We're not able to really ship chocolate to our online customers during the summer as well as we can when it's cooler because the chocolate melts in transit. And so we are looking for gems that you might be able to find in your local grocery stores or anywhere where chocolate is sold. We want to help direct you towards the brands and the companies that make good chocolate that we think is a good value.
Yes.
Second, we're just trying to keep our pulse on the industry so that we know where we stand in relation to the other products that are available on the market. Brian, anything you want to add to that?
I think what you're trying to say is we're keeping our finger on the pulse of the industry, because if we kept our pulse on the industry, we'd be spurting blood all over the industry.
I kept my pulse on the finger of the
No,
industry?
you said I think we're trying to keep our pulse on the industry.
What if we were keeping our pulse on
That's
the
what I'm saying.
finger
Wouldn't we be? Oh,
on the finger of the industry?
making them feel our pulse.
Yeah, industry has a huge
Ooh,
finger.
wow.
Huge finger.
That's like some jujitsu. That's like 4D chess right there.
Meta.
Woof.
It's meta.
I
We're
love-
not keeping our finger on the pulse of the industry.
No.
They're keeping their finger on our pulse.
Well, we're keeping our pulse on their finger.
Oh, man.
Let them try to escape our pulse. They can't.
They can't. It's on their finger. Good one, bro.
Yeah.
All right. So, anything you want to add to what I just said, other than analyzing how I misspoke?
No, I just
and
want to say.
embarrassing me in front of our audience here?
Well, I'm sure you'll return the favor before this episode's done. I want to thank everybody
You're
who's
bald.
listening.
You're bald, Brian. All right, go
That's
ahead.
debatable.
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody for listening, for watching, for going to FortunatoChocolate.com, for coming into the store. On Saturdays, you can find us in our retail store in
These two
Issaquah, Washington.
guys right here.
The banter is, it's over the top.
Well,
you gotta love it.
I mean, here you're only getting, 15 minutes? In the shop, we're talking 5 hours.
5 straight hours of banter.
Pure banter.
Our banter cup overfloweth.
Yes, it does.
As it was. And so just want to give a sincere appreciation to everybody. And let's get into the bar.
Here's what we got today. Actually, a customer or somebody who watches our show recommended that we review a bar by this company.
Okay.
All right. We're going to be looking at this, get up close, this Endangered Species bar. It's a 48% milk chocolate, and I would call
Dark
a 48% a dark milk.
That is
And
a dark
we
milk.
make a 47% dark milk.
We do.
And I was just eating our 47% dark milk last night. So
It's my favorite chocolate that we make.
I'm going to have to be pretty stringent on this review because I know how good the product that we make that's very similar to this is. So we've got a pretty high standard to hold this up to.
And let me just say, dark milk is my favorite kind of chocolate. So I'm prone to love this. I like I don't like the interior thin foil wrapping. I do like the molding. It's thin. They've got a cute little elephant on there. I think you can see it. So that's kind of cool. Now, one thing about endangered species, it says on the label here, it says, we give forward 10%. There's a little logo right there which says we give forward 10%. And on the inside of the wrapper, they haven't made it all that abundantly clear what the mechanism is, but it appears that they actually are giving maybe 10% of their net profits, I would guess, to otter conservation. Maybe each bar is different with a different animal, but it appears that they're trying to do something good with a part of their profits, and I laud them for that, and I applaud that effort.
It seems like the endangered species references the fact that they're taking some part of the revenues and dedicating it to animal conservation. And look, who doesn't like a sea otter?
I mean,
I love them, dude. They're cute, dude.
The baby otters?
Great personalities.
Come on,
Great
they're super
personalities.
cute.
Yep, I'm a fan.
The way they float on their back and they open stuff on
They
their,
got their
on their
little
belly.
teeth.
Look at this little guy.
Look at that guy.
Look at that guy right there.
Love that guy.
Come on, that's a cute little guy.
Yeah. And then they mentioned fair trade stuff in there.
They mentioned
as well.
they're fair trade, non-GMO, and the ingredients are exactly what you'd want to see in a dark milk. Milk chocolate, which is cocoa liquor, milk, cane sugar, cocoa butter, soy lecithin, and vanilla.
That's standard.
I think that's fairly
standard.
close to what we use for a 47%
yep,
dark.
Standard. Yep.
That'll be like tiny trace amount of lecithin and vanilla.
Yep.
And it's basically just.
Well, we don't know about the vanilla, but the lecithin will just be
it's
used
last
as an
on the
emulsifier.
ingredients list, which implies that it's the lowest.
They don't make any reference to what country they source their cacao from.
That is the one thing that gives you pause. It says learn more at chocolatebar.com. The company is in Indianapolis.
So I'm inclined,
but it's made in the U.S. This is not imported like Belcolade or Berry Calabo.
And I see these endangered species bars in a lot of places. They've got wide distribution, and just based on everything we've read, especially the cute otter, Brian, I'm inclined to like these guys.
I mean, do otters eat chocolate? Because that'd be adorable. If you see an otter like eating chocolate, it might be poisonous. I mean, it might be the world's greatest thing, or it might be the world's worst thing.
Or what if you're at the zoo eating a bar of chocolate and the otter jumped out of the little river that they swim in and snatched it out of your hand?
That's a very acrobatic otter, aggressive.
I'd be more impressed than anything else.
I'd be impressed and quite terrified, to be honest with you.
Be scared he's going to jump back out and attack me.
Otter attack.
Yeah. You don't hear about a lot of otter attacks.
Oh, well, not unless you live in the Amazon jungle for 10 years.
They got otters in the Amazon?
It's theoretically possible.
Yeah, they don't have otters.
They have river otters, actually, yes.
Okay, let's get a little sniff test.
So there's something in that sniff test that's not...
That's not copacetic with you?
No, but let's see if it's what I think it is.
All right, Brian, you want me to set it off or you want to set it off?
No, you go ahead.
So we make, like I said, we make a 47%. So immediately, you're all right. Let me start with this. We both love dark milk chocolates. So a dark milk chocolate is really sort of a genius thing, because you can get some of the dairy in there, and then you also pick up some of the bitterness from the cacao.
Right. Not as sweet.
So you get a milk chocolate that's not as sweet. So
it's got some of the character of the cacao.
Yeah. So just on formatting, a dark milk is a really good choice. And I think that this is since it's a dark milk, it's a good choice. I will say this, the cacao that they're using is not as flavorful as the cacao that we use. I can tell, and at least to me, it seems like this is certainly a bulk African cacao that they have purchased fair trade.
It's more than that. There's a problem in their post-harvest processing. There's a rubber taste to it.
So the cacao, you can taste the cacao in a way that you wouldn't want to taste it. That's my opinion on it.
This cacao is either over fermented or dried on black poly tarps on the sun and has picked up some of the flavor of those black tarps. When they're in the sun, they degrade a little bit and they can impart a rubber flavor. But there's an off note from the post-harvest processing.
Through the dark milkness of the cacao, through the dark milk chocolate, which is it's a good format, and it's especially a good format for a cacao like this. Because if you're going to make a dark chocolate with this cacao, it would be even more pronounced. But through the good kind of dark milk formulation that they have going on, you're picking up the cacao, and to me, the cacao part of this is not as pleasant as I would want it to be.
It's grainy. The texture is a little off.
I mean, the graininess could just be from how it was stored in the grocery store.
By the way, that's correct. That's fair,
it might have just been partially out of temper.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I can through the recipe pick up cacao, and because I was just eating our 47%, and our cacao has a really good genetic variety, and it's properly fermented. It's a thing of beauty, and I can immediately detect the difference in the cocoa bean that is being used, because that's where the front part of this, where you're just dealing with the dairy and you're dealing with the formulation, is all right, but as you kind of work your way through it and get into the cacao portion, that's where I'm starting to notice some stuff that I don't find particularly pleasant.
Do you get what I'm talking about?
I do.
The cacao itself has an unpleasant taste
as it goes on more and more.
Yes. So there's two problems here. One, there's a textural issue. It seems like it's a little out of temper, and that's not. I'm sure it went into the package in temper. We've had it sitting around. This might not. It might have nothing to do with endangered species chocolate, but there's a problem with their cacao, and I can't get past it. Now, it might be that our palates are a little bit more refined for this kind of stuff.
I'm sure that's the case.
I think a lot of people that like Hershey's and that are used to that butyric acid flavor that Hershey's has might not really pick this up. But if you're looking for a dark milk, which normally will have enough of a cacao note along with a kind of a caramelly dulce de leche from the milk, I think there's two things going on here. I think the milk powder they used is low quality.
Okay.
And I think
Interesting.
And I think the cacao is over fermented and improperly dried.
Yeah, that's
and it's giving it a rubbery, a kind of a rubber. In Peru, we would call this sabor de caucho. Which is like tire rubber.
Yeah.
It's got a taste that's like the smell of tire rubber when your tires have been working hard on the freeway.
That's so just to go back to what you pointed out too, because we send our cocoa beans from Peru to Switzerland.
Yes.
And so we're getting good Swiss milk. We're getting Swiss dairy in our milk chocolate.
Yes, and the best cacao you can.
And setting aside the cacao, another ingredient consideration is also the milk powder that you're using.
Yes. So I think this is.
And this, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I think to me this is sort of like a tale of two cities. For me, the front of this starts off pretty nicely.
Okay.
Because it starts off and you think you're getting a dark milk, which is a good thing.
And I'll fully admit, almost nobody in the world is as conditioned as I am to immediately pick up on problems in the fermentation and drying of the beans.
But no, I do.
Nobody else gets that but the way I do because I spent so many years trying to find fault with our fermentation and drying. So
but
nobody else is going to do what I just did.
No, but I noticed it too.
Yeah.
Which is why I couched this in the fact by saying this same cacao in a different format would be pretty untenable.
Yeah.
But this starts off.
That's a good point.
All right. So
that's a good point.
That's why I wanted to couch that first. But this to me is sort of like a tale of two, like a tale of two chocolate bars. It starts off, and in the beginning, you're getting the dairy and some of the bitterness. But as it wears on, the flaws in the cacao start to show themselves more and more. And as it goes on, it gets worse and worse until you have a pretty bad aftertaste.
This should be an inclusion bar with little bits of candied tire rubber. That'd be really good.
Oh, yeah, it sounds awesome. Yeah, really good.
Yeah. So, by the way, I really respect what they're trying to.
I do.
The fact that they're trying to give 10% and save species. I think they knew that they had beans that weren't optimal, and they tried to make a product that would do everything they could to make beans that maybe shouldn't have been used into a usable product.
In that way, a dark milk was a pretty smart way to go.
Well, this maybe should have been a lower percentage.
Or they could have just gone all the way milk chocolate. They could also just go full milk chocolate with it.
If I was going to do something with beans like this, I would go full on low percentage milk with inclusions.
With an inclusion.
This cacao needed more masking.
Yeah. Okay, I agree with you. Yeah. All right, that's a good point. So, all right, endangered species, Mr. and Mrs.
Honestly, though, I want to try something again by endangered species. I also feel like the lack of temper was maybe our issue, not theirs.
Yeah, I think that's true.
I want to try something else from endangered species because I don't want to write off a company because it was recommended to us and I think they're trying to do some good stuff. So I'd be interested to try something else by endangered species.
Would you be more interested in trying one of their milk chocolates or one of their dark chocolates?
I would like to try a dark chocolate because there's nowhere to hide. If they're getting bad cacao, okay. If a company gets bad cacao, for some companies you cannot afford to not use that cacao. Well, and this cacao isn't like ravingly awful.
And also, if you're buying cacao through cacao brokers, they might send you a sample, but then you buy 20 tons, and there's just some bad cacao in there, and it could be a bad lot as well.
Exactly. So I think I'm not willing to pass judgment on the company. I like some of the stuff that I saw, but if a company gets a lot of bad beans, a batch of bad beans, I should say, and then uses it to make dark chocolate, that to me would imply that they just don't know. They're careless, or they just don't know.
Or they just don't know.
So I would like to try something else by endangered species that was a darker chocolate and really find out what's going on with those beans.
Well, and by the way, I'll just give them also just a little tip of the cap too, just for making a dark milk.
Yes.
Just to make a dark milk is a pretty good thought.
That's right.
Because it's a good format. So I'll give them a shout out on being savvy enough to attempt a dark milk and selling a dark milk in the grocery store.
Yeah.
Because you don't see a lot of good dark milks being sold in the grocery store.
Agreed.
So that's something unique.
Agreed. I want to taste something else by endangered species and revisit them, and because you can't judge the entire output of a maker on one bar, as you say. Within those 20 tons that comes in a 40-foot, high cube container could be a ton of beans that 1 ton of beans that just weren't that weren't right, and 19 good tons. We may be just getting a one-off here.
Yep. And as this lingers on, it just the weird rubbery bitterness.
That's what stays.
It just lingers
Unfortunately,
on and on.
I had high hopes for this.
And we wanted to like these guys.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a miss, but I want to try something else by Endangered Species.
All right. This bar, 48% endangered species. Mr. and Mrs. Endangered Species, if that is your last name.
That's right.
Which it probably is not.
Yeah,
but...
I mean, yeah, it's probably E, Endangered Species.
First name E?
First name E. Middle name Endangered.
It's very Dutch. Endangered. All right.
Endangered.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning in. If you want to subscribe and get a notification anytime we put out a new review, you can do that on YouTube. And please mash the like button.
Mash it.
Mash it. Check us out at www.fortuneoutofchocolate.com.
Potatoes.
Mash it like a mashed potato.
Oof.
Nice, Brian.
Yes.
You're really up on this whole internet lingo, bro. I learned about mashing the like button from you.
A young man like myself has to stay current. You know?
Yeah. You got to stay fresh. You got to stay relevant. So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Brian, you want to add anything?
Thank you very much.